So we're in for another episode of Racing Media Week, and we're joined here at the Racing Post studio. We've just filmed an episode of the Front Page, and I'm with two of the leading lights of the Racing Post young talent, Maddy Playle and Jonathan Harding, just to give an insight into their jobs here at the Racing Post and also some advice for you at home. So welcome both. We'll start with you, Jonathan. You are a two-time winner at the HWPA Awards. Tell us a bit about your career and, of course, how you got on to win Specialist Writer of the Year award.
Yeah, sure. So I studied at university. I did English literature and then went to do my NCTJ, which is the journalism qualification, at a place called News Associates in London. I'd been involved on the student paper and got quite into sports reporting as a way of getting into games for free. So I did that course. Always had an interest in racing, so when the tutor came down and said we need somebody to write a column for Eurosport once a week and I'll get you to the Cheltenham Festival for 4 days, I shot my hand up, as you can imagine, yeah.
Until he found out who was sat next to.
And I was sat next to a certain James Stevens there as well. So that was, yeah, that would be the first bit of advice. Always stick your hand up and say yes, and then worry about how you're going to do it later, I think. So I joined the Racing Post straight after doing my NCTJ, and I'm now up to 5 years, dividing my time really between reporting, features writing, and some news editing and being on course, a bit of everything really. As we all have to do, a bit of everything, which is good for kind of becoming a bit more rounded as a journalist. And how did I become specialist writer? A lot of my reporting was taking me in that direction towards industry topics, how the sports run, big issues, big picture stuff. Enjoyed doing that and basically submitted a few of those pieces and got the nod, which was great last year.
Yeah, Maddy, almost 7 years you've been here. Time flies, doesn't it? Tell us a bit about your background and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Far less academic than Jonathan, which I guess shows that there's hope for us all. Yeah, I did my A-levels, always enjoyed writing in English, but really I never had a dream to set out to be a journalist. I just loved racing and got more and more invested in it as I was at school. Opted not to go to university, and I didn't have any qualifications. But was keen to get into the world of work and was lucky to secure some work experience placements both at the Racing Post and at Great British Racing, and really just pursued it that way. Tried to teach myself as much as I could, engaged I guess with the sport. I wrote a letter which I think was probably instrumental in helping me secure an internship here, which got published by the Racing Post, about young racegoers and sort of defending us as a collective when some of the older brigade were complaining, saying, oh, young people only ever want to go racing for, having a day out and getting drunk, etc. And yeah, joined as an intern, sort of worked my way up doing all sorts of things. And like Jonathan these days, there's a broad range of things that I do, whether that's website management, whether it's writing news, features, doing more AV stuff like we've done this morning. And I think my main topic of advice would just be to put yourself out there and say yes to as many opportunities as you can, because even if you say yes to something and you don't particularly enjoy it or you don't think that's an area for you, it's still an experience that you can call upon to help inform you and what you want to do. And also it's a good way to network and meet people, which is also an advantage in this industry. But essentially I'd just say don't let anything hold you back, We're seeing more people from a wide range of backgrounds get into racing these days, which is a great thing. There are support out there, the likes of the Racing Media Academy, the BHA grad scheme. There's lots of different routes depending on what you want to do. And also I'd say, without being soppy about it, there's a lot of good people in racing who will be willing to help you and want to see you succeed. So yeah, just get involved and show your passion, and that will shine through in what you do, and you'll be rewarded.
Yeah, okay, and we'll come to you again, Maddy, first on this one, and then to Jonathan. He's got a bit more time to think. Your top tips for expert reporting.
Expert reporting. I'd say number one, try not to go into any scenario as much as you can. Try and prepare,
so
obviously.
Tell a story ahead of time.
Yeah, don't get set on what you think the angle might be, because even if something else happens, you can end up writing in a certain way that's not actually reflective of what has happened. I guess just try and be thorough, try and ask different questions, try and maybe set yourself apart from others if it's a group event where there's other people there, and try and be sensitive. You know, sometimes we're reporting on difficult topics, whether that be industry or to do with people's personal lives, etc. It's always, you know, important to remember that you are just speaking to people and be considerate and polite. But essentially, I think just do your prep. I think that's the best way to put yourself at ease if you are of a more nervous disposition, or perhaps if you're speaking to someone who you haven't spoken to before. Getting good background's always important, just so you can feel comfortable and confident in that position, and ask the right questions and get the right responses. But never go in with a preconceived idea of what you think something might be, and try and get to know your subject as well as you can beforehand.
I would say
Did I do okay there?
Yeah, very good. I think with reporting is just a case of be brave. There's nobody so big and so scary that you can't pick the phone up if you're chasing something genuine. Don't be afraid to pull on the threads, no matter how uncomfortable. At its core, reporting is trying to get to the bottom of something and try to tell the reader something they don't know. So often it will be something a little bit uncomfortable. You do have to challenge and press, and that's part of the fun of journalism, I think. So be brave, and then when it comes to executing the copy, keep it tight and clean. Nice, clean copy. We don't need too many flourishes all the time. There's a place for that, but you know, just imagine if you were trying to tell somebody the story. You write it very similarly to that. Get the big points high up and prominent, almost like an upside down pyramid, if you will. Get the sort of most pertinent point. Get the key line high up. Choose the right way in, and then roll from there.
Yeah, okay.
It's turning into a masterclass.
Yeah, well, hopefully so. And that sounds like your news editor voice coming out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Final question for you both. Start with you, Jonathan. Think back to young Jonathan Harding going to Eurosport. What would you tell him that you know now?
I think maybe just be a little bit more imaginative. Maybe I don't mean don't keep the clean and tight copy and all of that basic stuff, but I think just enjoy it a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of time pressures and you can sometimes be I was at Cheltenham for 4 days and my head was so down in the laptop I forgot to actually enjoy what I was watching in the racing, and I think try and get a little bit of that across and be a bit more experimental early on, perhaps.
That's what we all do it for, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Maddy, what would you tell a younger Maddy Playle?
Probably just to keep things simple and keep things straightforward. You were saying about sort of flourishes in work, and I found that probably back in the day I was overthinking things and almost trying too hard. If you simplify things and almost take the pressure off yourself and just not try too much, then things are going to come out. They're going to be cleaner communicated, and you're going to end up doing a better job. So just try not to put too much pressure on yourself and try and keep things simple.
Perfect. That's a bit of a masterclass there from Maddy Playle and Jonathan Harding. And join us tomorrow. We'll be finding out all about photography from award winner Megan Dent.